Hello, you massive malt maker mergers, and thank you to Michael Johnson for the malt mention introducing Ralphie Review 939. This channel, by the way, is all about reviewing in detail single malt Scotch whisky and other quality spirits from around the world, but primarily it's Scotch single malt whisky because, frankly, fellow anoraks, that's what I'm into. And I just like to add, I'm into it in moderation. It's quality, not quantity, that matters to me, and therefore you're unlikely to see me in a bar at the weekend pished. Highly unlikely. Even less so than a few years ago, because I'm getting a little bit older and a little bit wiser. And I have a single malt here which is getting a little bit older and a little bit wiser. It's called Benromach 10-year-old. I last reviewed this in 2020, about 2 years ago. It was November, so just a bit less than 2 years ago. And I gave it a reasonable malt mark. Not a lot has changed. I must compliment actually Benromach on the continuity and consistency of their batching, because in fact this single malt is very similar to the last time. But you know, a good whisky is always worth re-reviewing after a couple of years, because there can be changes not only in the whisky but in our own perception, in the where our taste buds are at, what our experience is, what our tolerance is at, what we're it's a journey. Sipping whisky is absolutely a journey, and it's a slow one, but it's immensely rewarding so long as we're buying the right whiskies and not spending too much out of budget. Now, as I'm pouring this single malt, and before I tell you all about it, there's something I want to inform you about. If you are approached by anybody at all calling themselves Ralphie and asking you to buy whisky from them or invest in casks or any other whisky business, let me advise you, it's not me. I will never contact you directly. The only people that I occasionally contact directly are Patreon subscribers on my Patreon channel, Ralphie. We've got a great little whisky group going. But there's a fake Ralphie out there, somebody using my name. It's not just me, it's happening to other YouTubers. It's happening to other onliners. People are direct messaging through different forms of social media, followers to channels, and bombing them with scams, basically. When you come across it, it is not me, immediately report it as phishing, so it can go on the server algorithm. Okay? Needed to share that, malt mates. Right, 10-year-old Benromach, small distillery, coastal, north-west Speyside region, but in fact is a Highland distillery. So it's in the wrong region, because the Speyside region was just one big sort of swishy circle on a map at some point by a master blender, and it wasn't particularly accurate. The Speyside region definition is still not accurate. So you have a number of Highland distilleries included in the Speyside region. So when you're looking to regions for guidance, beware of that. Be very much aware of that. This is why you get at least a dozen if not more, Highland distilleries in the Speyside region which do not have the Speyside character. One of them is Benromach, in my opinion. And I remember when this distillery started, it had been a mothballed distillery, and it was bought by Gordon MacPhail independent bottlers. And they put a lot of time, a lot of money and a lot of effort into getting it up and running again, doing it right. They build dunnage warehouses. Now that's highly, highly unusual in this day and age. I'm just setting the scene before I actually smell and taste this. Just setting the scene for you here. And they produced very characterful whisky. They are staff-intense production, so they're not mechanised. Their staff are well trained. They know what they're doing. Do you know what? Benromach have a great whisky making team up at that distillery. And it's not just me that's saying it. A lot of people are saying it. But why isn't Benromach more recognised and more applauded and more treasured than it is? Because it's an available whisky, it's an affordable whisky. There's two reasons, and I'm going to come to these two reasons shortly. Okay? Now, there's something on this label that I want to bring your attention to. It's bottled at 43%. 10-year-old single malt, bottled at 43%. Every and any time you see a bottling strength of 43%, it virtually guarantees that the whisky has been chill filtered. Chill filtering, and nobody's going to argue with me. I'm just telling you the truth, malt mates. I'm telling you what you need to know, which is not necessarily what you want to hear. But you need to know this. Chill filtration damages single malt whisky. Never mind the blends, they're fine because they're blends. And they're cheaper, generally. But single malts, because when you cool the whisky to -0 at times, and when you force it under high pressure through a concertina of paper card filters, you strip out oils, you strip out mouthfeel, you strip out flavour. Yes, you do. This is why chill filtration units always smell beautiful. It's one of the nicest places to hang around at in the bottling plant, because it smells so lovely with all the flavours of whisky that are being stripped out of the liquor in the process of chill filtration. It takes colour from the whisky. Did you know that? Yeah, I'll tell you why. Because as and when someone kind of basically blows the lid on this absurdity. Yeah, you heard me. It's an absurdity. It's disgraceful. But anyway, big deep breath. It's been bothering me recently because I'm tasting more and more whiskies which are not what they should be because they've been chill filtered. It's almost as if they've been castrated. And I'm fed up being polite about it. And so many other the commentators, they kind of gloss over it. But it's not good enough. Not at the prices we're paying. This is what I really want you to think about. Look at the price you're paying now. And what are you getting? If you're getting chill filtered whisky, you're getting something which is downgraded and degraded. The colour comes into these paper filters. It thins the whisky. And unfortunately, Benromach are doing this, and I don't understand the logic. It's absolutely illogical. Someone senior in Gordon and MacPhail has made a decision in this, and it's a really seriously bad call, and it's holding back this brand big time. Big time. Now, they do say on the side of the label, natural colour. Fine, but natural colour. It's quite a rich colour. Very revealing after 10 years. It's because they mature the whisky in new, first fill, ex-bourbon casks. Now that costs money, malt mates. So here's a distillery really investing in their casks, unlike some others. Investing in making good whisky, unlike some others. Putting it into dunnage warehouses, letting the casks rest on their side in a proper ambient atmosphere, unlike most others. And yet then they chill filter it, whack it down to 43% and expect to be taken seriously with this branding which has never sat well with the customers. It was just great whisky, shame about the leadership. And I'm talking about the top. This is Britain, by the way, 2022. It's right across Benromach has got a lot of character. It should be the Springbank of the North. Small distillery, low production volume, old-fashioned ways of making it, the ways that work. It should be the Springbank of the North. But it's not, because of the presentation, the packaging, and that disgusting chill filtration habit. It's just, someone needs to speak to someone in authority and just ask them to catch up with the real world. Apart from that, you see, already to an experienced whiskey drinker, you're getting negative signals. It's taken me almost 2 years to come back to this brand specifically because of that packaging, the relabeling of it. There was just no need for it. Absolutely no need. It was kind of... Anyway, nose. Fresh, fizzy, effervescent, fruity. Just a hint of peat in the background. Just enough to give extra weight on the nose. It's baked apples, ginger, vanilla, some soft toffee, some rich, good quality sultana notes in there, some mild spice in the background, and a little touch of herbaceous spice. Well, when I say herbaceous spice, I mean a mixture of herbs and spices. And they just kind of fuse together and they make something that's slightly unrecognisable initially. And on the taste, beautiful, complex, articulate, clear, malted barley arrival. Beautiful balance between sweet and sour. Hint of bitterness in the background. The sensation balance is exceptional. It's outstanding. This is a great signature for a single malt. Very good. Most of the bottlings from Benromach are very good. But people just don't, unfortunately, people don't warm to Benromach for the simple reason it's the way it's put out into the market. So careless. Honestly. I find this frustrating because there's hard times round the corner and whiskey's going to struggle to sell their brands. So they need to get it right. Getting it wrong is no longer an option. You need talented people to make the talented people decisions. And Benromach need to do something. First step, 46% unchill filtered, and put the price up £5 across the range. I've added a drop of water. I'm enjoying this as much as I did 2 years ago. I remember it well from then, and it's coming back to me now quite clear. This lovely, rich, I would like to say viscous, but it's been chill filtered, so the viscous is missing. It's been stripped out of it. Imagine going to an art gallery to see a masterpiece, and you've got to look at it through a curtain, a neck curtain, right? Imagine how absurd that is. That's chill filtration, malt mates, in a nutshell. If you haven't discovered that for yourself, you will very soon. It's a disgusting habit in single malt whiskies. A little more bitterness balancing off the sweetness. It gets a thinner into the development because of that filtering. It doesn't sustain the way it should. It doesn't have the length because it doesn't have the mouthfeel. And it doesn't have the finish because the length has been compromised by the chill filtration. Malt mates, what the real message that I'm giving to you is my growing profound frustration at the Scotch whisky industry for their chill filtration practices. Now, in a small distillery, small like Benromach, it's frankly inexcusable It's inexcusable. At this moment in time, in 2022, it's profound professional incompetence. That's what it is. It's disgraceful. And I feel so sorry for the staff at the distillery, who are a good team, a professional team, a highly professional team. And they're not given the credit they're due because of the way the bottling's treated. There's also a peated version of Benromach. Look out for that one. The 15-year-old is bitter. It's a strongly bitter whisky. So it's one that people who are really, really experienced with whisky may enjoy, but in small quantities. This is another aspect of Benromach. It's got an awkward signature. But I'm going to be reviewing the 15-year-old shortly, in a few weeks' time, to companion this. At the moment, I'm doing an official bottling, followed by an independent bottling, followed by an official bottling, then an independent bottling, to mix it up a little bit. But this is not, if you're just looking for a jolly, cheery person to tell you how fantastic all whisky is and why you should buy, this is the wrong channel for you. In this channel, I really deep dive it. I go into serious detail here. This is for people who really want to learn about whisky. I'm here to provide that experience and contribute to that education, because that's the purpose of this channel. And at times, I know people say, oh no, Ralphie's complaining again. But I'll only ever complain when I have a very good reason to complain. And bear in mind, and I'm going to conclude with this, is I bought that with my money that I earned from this YouTube channel and from my Patreon subscribers. So it's a different script. I can say what I like because it's not been gifted to me. It's not been handed with a nod and a wink. Hey Ralphie, you're a great guy. We love the channel. Here's a bottle of whisky. What they fail to say is, and we'll give you more whisky if you give this a nice review. This is not that kind of channel, Maltmates. And I just want to really explain it and make it clear so as you have perspective as to why, in the recent years in particular, I've started to get a little bit darker about my comments on whisky. And it's simply because someone needs to say it, because it really needs to be said. Whisky is changing. And we need to, as whisky buyers, there's increasing risk that we pay our money for a bottle of whisky and we get a bad buy that disappoints us. That trend is growing. Distillers throughout Scotland really need to seriously overlook and upgrade the presentation of their product to reflect the modern contemporary market. And one of the first distillers that needs to do this is Benromach, by adding unchill filtered to the side of their label and bottling at 46% and delivering the full potential of the whisky that they've invested in the first place. Seriously, who's making these decisions? Why are distilleries doing this now? There's a global international recession about to hit. It's going to be a megastorm. It's serious. And it amazes me at how unprepared and how unready the Scotch whisky industry is collectively. How non-reactive, non-proactive, how reactive and non-proactive. Anyway, let's give this a malt mark. I had to say that, by the way. I had to get it off my chest. Do you know, in fairness, you know, this is a 90 out of 100 whisky, which has been compromised with chill filtration. It's going down to 84. That's what it deserves. That's what it got last time. The malt mark hasn't changed. This is really, it's just like Glengoyne. Really good whisky, badly and superficially delivered to the market, carelessly delivered to the market. There's other distilleries as well. But I tell you what, see my next review, 940. I'm going to introduce you to an independent bottling, full cask strength, unchill filtered, natural colour, and it's an absolute belter. It's a stunning whisky from a distillery that you've probably never heard of and you completely ignore because nobody's interested, but it is an absolute diamond of a bottling. But that'll be the next review, so you're going to have to hang about for that one. I'm Ralphie, hope you've enjoyed this. I'm making some serious points here because I continue to need to make them for the benefit of us all and the price we pay for the whisky we buy. If only more people online would talk about this and get some momentum moving here to persuade the whisky makers to up the quality, which they most certainly can right across the board. Right across the board. And it's the experienced whisky drinkers. It's our responsibility to keep at this because we're laying the foundations for tomorrow's whisky industry. And I don't want to wake up one morning and discover somebody wanting to get into whisky has no option but 1,001 varieties of sanitised pish. Because it could happen. Seriously, it could happen. I'm Ralphie, over and out.